Welcome back, nerds, to another episode of Orthodox Review, the most uneducated educational program here on the internet today. Excuse me, I'm just a little gassy. Let me take a sip of here. So delightful, so delightful. Anyway, it's been a while. How you been? You doing okay? I'm hanging in there. But, hey, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about books, are we not? This is episode 77, and this is The Orthodox Veneration of the Mother of God by St. John Maximovic of Shanghai and San Francisco. Got his icon right over there in the corner. Nice. Translated by one Father Seraphim Rose. You might have heard of him. At any rate, so let's dive into the printing history a little bit, where this book started off as, and all that gobbledygook. So it was written by the saint back in 1928, when he was a member, and it was published by the Brotherhood of the Saint Job in Vladimirov, Czechoslovakia, back when he was a wee young lad. But it actually wasn't published by them until 1933 in the Orthodox calendar for them, and was subsequently found by Father Seraphim, as Father Seraphim was his disciple the last 4 years of the saint's life on this earth. And so that's kind of how that changing of hands went. But it's also cool because just knowing that in itself gives a little more context to Father Seraphim's early education and his conversion and his catechesis. But at any rate, rightfully so, great love for St. John, great love for his works and the simplicity of those works. And so here it is. Now, the printing history in English, and this is where you collectors can really nerd out. I have 2 of 7 editions. Okay, so the first edition came out in 1978, the second in 1982, the third in 1987, and those were first edition. So the second edition, which was an updated printing, it was in 1994 and then reprinted in 1996. Now the third edition came out in 2004, and this is the third edition. And so there's not much difference between the third and the fourth editions, aside from a few extra notes that were added by he's the chancellor of my diocese. Why am I blanking out on this? Why? Hieromonk Damascene. Jeez Louise. I even have it written right down here in front of me. Look at your notes, Raph. Anyway, and so, and of course you have all these wonderful pictures of icons in here. And of course now in the present 4th edition, first printed in 2012, there are a few differences. Now, of course, we have an icon of him since he's been glorified. And you'll notice that in the book itself, oh yeah, here's a great picture of St. John from 1927. So that's right around the time he started writing this work. Yeah, he was such a young man. At any rate, and so what they did was they resized some of the icons to kind of bolster the size of the book. Like here on page 37, you see the icon of the Theotokos, the life-giving spring. And if we go into the previous edition, the 3rd edition, where was it? It was much smaller in this one. We'll get to it eventually. Yeah. So, same page. Just, yeah, go figure. So, a lot of it is layout and notes. But outside of that, not too much of a difference. There's a few more pages because of the layout change in the present 4th edition. And, of course, you do have the Akathist in here, which is always nice to have another translation around. This translation happens to be that of Archimandrite Lazarus Moore, who translated a whole bunch of stuff for us English speakers that stand to this day, not the least of which are the Jordanville Prayer Book in its original form, the Psalter, which his version is available again, and I've got one on the way. But that's also the one that kind of spurred on the one put out by not St. Tikhon's, the Holy Transfiguration. Along with Holy Transfiguration publishes his translation of the Ladder of Divine Ascent. So if you're familiar with any of those works, his translations are beautiful. Now, on to the contents of the book. So we went over the fact that Father Seraphim was a disciple of St. John. Intro. Okay, the intro to the book is actually an article that was written for the Orthodox Word in 1976. And so this is, and what's interesting about this book, it's really not so much a book as it is a string of articles. So you have the preface by Hieromonk Damascene, and then the introduction by Father Seraphim Rose, published in 1976 on the 10th anniversary of St. John's repose. Pardon me, I am really gassy. Anyway, now let's skip ahead a little bit because, I'll get to my final thoughts in a second. But there is a great section in here, somewhere around page 40, if memory serves. Yes, here, okay. Well, you have this whole chapter on the Nestorian heresy, and you give a very clear explanation of the orthodoxy of the title Theotokos, and kind of a really cool glimpse into how the councils worked, which is awesome. But I have this section here squared away for you. I'd like to read it to you now. At the complaint of the bishops of Cyprus against the pretensions of the bishop of Antioch, the council decreed that the Church of Cyprus should preserve its independence in church government, which it had possessed from the apostles, and that in general none of the bishops should subject to themselves regions which had been previously independent from them, quote, lest under the pretext of priesthood the pride of earthly power should steal in, and lest we lose, ruining it little by little, the freedom which our Lord Jesus Christ, the deliverer of all men, has given us by his blood. Why, you may ask, is that included in a book about the Theotokos? Well, look at America. Draw your own conclusions. At any rate, moving right along, so you have the Latin corruption, starting on page 47, which really goes through the whole Immaculate Conception heresy, which, of course, led to something that is not here in the book because Father Seraphim really didn't live long enough to see it, nor did St. John, obviously, the idea of her being a co-redemptrix. But it does go through the evolution and the divisive nature of the concept among the Latin churches and teachers, because it's not something that just kind of happened and stuck. Sorry, just checking the window for the cat. It took a while to take hold, but still, it's good to have a deeper understanding of just how that came to be. So by the time we get to page 63, which is just titled The Orthodox Veneration of the Mother of God, it really is a kind of a summation. It's a crash course in what exactly the Orthodox believe about her. It's kind of a truncated version of her life even, which is edifying in of itself. And hey, one of all of our favorites, the joy of all joys, tender feeling. That I also have a copy of in there because Father Seraphim at Holy Cross insisted we all have one. But anyway, and then of course you got the Agathist. So all in all, for a paltry $9, I think is what it goes for these days, maybe 10, worth every penny. And again, when it comes to catechesis in the church, and just especially when you're coming from a Protestant or even a Roman Catholic background, little books like these are of great importance because it gets the theology to you without it being overly pretentious, and it's very easy to read, and it's really succinct and to the point. And when a saint speaks, we try to listen. So yeah, and a well done, and obviously the translation really well done because Father Seraphim being a Russian speaker anyway, because he was kind of a savant like that, and being so close to St. John for so many years, had a really good grasp of not only the Russian language, but St. John's language. And that's why this particular treatise stands apart in modern English Orthodoxy, because the translation is so pure and faithful, and it really does get the point across. So, at any rate, there you go. The Orthodox Veneration of the Mother of God, previously called the Orthodox Veneration of Mary, the birth giver of God. I don't know why they changed it. Whatever. There it is. Great book. Solid read. Take a couple hours. It's only, how many pages we got here? All in all? Right up to the end, 82. 82 pages. Go ahead. Go get a copy. Treat yourself. At any rate, on behalf of Spooky Cat, her mama, and myself, I'd like to wish you all a very happy new year coming up on September 1st, for those of us on the new calendar. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Not really. I don't really care if you do or don't. But please, please, please go to church, say your prayers, and remember God. God bless.